Immortals takes down Liquid.
To the juggernaut that is Immortals, who remains undefeated 10 games into the North American LCS.
I think Immortals is the best. TL's not going to be the best unless we beat them.
I'm not really afraid of playing against them. We can just focus on shutting down Lolo again.
Oh, they're going for Lolo because the flash is down!
They're still undefeated, so I want to be the first to beat Immortals.
꼴등에서 1등을 올라가는 것보다 1등에서 밑으로 내려가는 게 더 쉬워요. 저희가 만약에 한 판 이긴다고 하면은 IMT도 쭉 떨어질 거라고 예상하고 있기 때문에 꼭 이기고 싶어요.
I don't think no one can stop us. It's impossible.
Welcome to day 2 of the North American LCS. We're revved and ready to deliver the best League of Legends action in North America, live from our home in Los Angeles, California. Now, yesterday was packed action, and the crowd is pumped for another day of exciting league matches. Earlier today, fans were gathered outside the Riot HQ and were hyped up to cheer on their favorite teams. Of course, inside, Coach Zix looks over Stixxay and Aframu practicing their bot lane synergy. They'll be going up against Renegades, who are at full attention for their pregame strategy talk. It's going to be a big one for both of those teams today. Joining us, thank you very much for joining us, this afternoon. I'm James Dash Patterson, and joining me on the analyst desk is Sam Kobe Hartman-Kensler, along with returning special guest Marcus Dyrus Hill. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
There we go. That is the correct response, Kobe. You passed the first test of the analyst test today. All right, well, let's check in on the standings to see how the teams finished up day 1. Immortals is in first place, but C9, CLG, and TSM have found themselves in a 3-way tie for second, 2 Sundays in a row. Energy Esports is in 5th, while Liquid sits just 1 win behind in 6th place. Echo Fox has tied up with Team Impulse in 7th, while Team Dignitas and Renegades fill out the bottom of the standings. We've got a packed day of games, though, today headed your way, starting with Renegades versus CLG. Then Dignitas goes up against TSM before Energy Esports faces off against Cloud9. Game 4, we'll see Team Impulse battle Echo Fox, and we'll finish the day with our match of the week, Liquid versus Immortals, where Dardoch will get another chance to prove himself against last week's MVP jungler. Now, we had a lot of great games yesterday, a few coming down to some impressive team fights. Echo Fox ended the day with a 60-minute slugfest to grab the 3rd straight win with their roster back in full form, which bumped them 1 rung higher up in the standings.
They did, and they did it with 2 Zerat portals, having to fight 2 Zerat portals as well. I don't know how exciting those portal fights are, but really the exciting part is that Echo Fox with Froggen back look amazing. Froggen has some crazy statistics as well. In his 5 games, he's got the highest first blood percentage, KDA, CS difference at 10, all the top stats for mid laners in the North American LCS. He has only played 5 games, though, so...
He's only played 5 games. He's played a fair amount of Corki as well, the last 3 games being on that Corki, and then we saw earlier in this split the Lissandra. I guess my question to you, Dyrus, would be, is there a champion pool? Is there a way to target ban him out so that he's not on a champion, that he can put forth these kinds of numbers and help carry this roster to the victories that they're seeing?
Well, not only is it a trending thing for Danish mid laners who are extremely good, these Froggen is especially like one of the veterans of the league, so banning him out is definitely out of the question. I think he's been playing for far too long to be banned out, and even if he is, like, he just has something under his sleeve.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he shows, even in a couple clips that we've seen, too, of those team fights, that he is always cool and calm under pressure and leading that team to victory as the veteran.
Yeah, something that comes with playing the game since it was released is that you've played all the champions pretty much. So, I mean, you can sort of target ban him and play what he's played most recently, but he definitely has more things he can use.
He's gone through all the metas, all the patches. And now we're here.
Now at the top of the tables, Immortals has shown that they are league's #1 team, but the race for second is as close as it's ever been, with a 3-way tie between CLG, Cloud9, and TSM. So starting with these 3 powerhouse teams, I want to go with Cloud9 first. Thoughts on them?
Yeah, Cloud9 have had some really exciting games as of late, but their game versus TSM was so close that TSM and CLG definitely still in this conversation for the #2 team. You know, everybody trying to get that spot behind Immortals because nobody can really crack that #1 spot.
That game was honestly insane because even with the small mistakes being made, like that one or two small mistakes turn into a huge one, and it just costs them the game. Even though they're winning for the majority of the game, one Soraka silence, root, one person getting caught, like the death timer at level 17 to 18 is just far too long. And with comps with Soraka, Gangplank, and, you know, against Kog'Maw, it's amazing how that turned out.
Yeah, the death timers point is definitely true because we're seeing already games across the world where teams will think that they can end the game and they go for a Nexus kill, get aced on their Nexus kill attempt, and get run all the way back, all the way to the other side of the map, even through extra outer turrets, and win the game off that. Like, it's just... And it's so long, you can just end it.
Let's not forget that this was C9 tying the head-to-head for TSM, meaning TSM got the better of them last time. So as it stands this split, those two teams even 1-1. Let's talk a little bit about TSM outside of just that game and how they've looked to improve, especially within the last 2 weeks compared to their first 4 weeks of play. Kobe?
Oh, me.
Help me out.
I thought we would go to the TSM.
We can go to TSM
player. But I think
next.
that the main thing for TSM is that they've shown so much improvement bringing Weldon in. They showed it a lot on the TSM YouTube show, but getting the players to focus, you know, and there was a lot of pressure on the coaching staff to get all these stars to work together. And they finally have shown the ability to work together. The last couple of weeks, they've definitely had bigger improvements than they had for the rocky sort of start of the season. Plus, I feel like Bjergsen is getting back to his old dominant ways in the mid lane. He was a little bit rocky in the start, but definitely showing up very big for the team.
Now, Darius, I don't know how much interaction you have with the current roster of players at TSM, but something that kind of jumped out at me yesterday was even in the defeat moment, watching those players immediately huddle up, they didn't look nearly as defeated as they had in the past. I don't know if you can speak to whether or not this is a product of Weldon working with the team, but they seemed, even in that defeat, in the loss, to be holding their heads much higher and be much more unified as a team than they had been in weeks prior.
Still being a part of TSM, I'm still pretty much a spectator, so I know as much as, you know, the next Redditor. So when it comes to watching that, I can kind of see what's going through their minds when they're losing, you know, how they're doing team bonding when you watch TSM Legends. Like, it's something that they've been through so much, and it just shows that they have so much potential still going into it. Honestly, they're kind of like the new CLG where they just have so much potential, but they're not just, you know, synergizing together perfectly.
Right.
But,
well,
you
it's
know,
only fitting you pick up double lift, that the torch passes for the potential, right?
Yeah, just too much potential.
Well, speaking of CLG, the team that once had a ton of potential might now have that potential realized here with this roster. Let's talk about them for a moment. I mean, they have had interesting games where they've made questionable decisions. The game against TSM, for example, where the second game against TSM in which they lost, where they just kind of opted out of their classic lane swap strategy. You know, what's our diagnosis of this team? Are they just a lane swap team? That's the only key to victory for them?
So they did return to the strong early game and the strong lane swap and objective trading in the mid game. But one new thing that they did show was Smithy on an offensive jungler, on Nidalee. And he crushed it. He had the highest damage on the team. He had all these great numbers, you know, high CS. And he was able to play that invading style jungler and use Nidalee. Maybe we'll see him return to his days of Lee Sin and the glory days of Smithy, like Vulcan Smithy, right?
Yeah.
But so, you know, those are, yeah, your eyes get real big when you hear that, but like, it's been a long time where people have, you know, kind of been down on Smithy ever since the Sejuani era.
Right.
And he really had a good Nidalee performance.
He definitely is capable of performing
Yes,
and doing it
he's
that
done it
way.
before.
And with Double Lift off the team, they definitely have like a different team dynamic. Whoever is like strategizing and planning those 2v1s and those strong early games is definitely making a huge difference for CLG.
Awesome. I'm going to put you on the spot now, Darius. I'm going to ask you, which of these three teams would you pick to be the second place team in the NA LCS by the end of the split?
I want to say TSM, and they have the most potential because from what I've seen, like, they could have easily taken that game. And at the same time, I want to say C9 because Balls has been such a monster. And as for CLG, they have, like, it's just so close. But honestly, I'm just a TSM fanboy.
That's fair. That's fair. Go with your heart, right? And who knows, over the next 3 weeks, if that potential is fully realized, then they definitely are in the conversation for top 2 teams in the North American LCS. Well, yesterday, in his interview, Adrian said he thinks CLG has the best shot of taking a win off of Immortals. And Immortals, they definitely looked shaky in their game against Renegades yesterday, even pulling out the win.
Yeah, as much as every time we talk to an Immortals player, after every single win, every game they play, which is every single win, every single time an Immortals player is like, you know what, we don't take anybody for granted, we take every game seriously. That game, they pulled out the Jungle Rumble, which is a little bit different for them, and having Reignover not with a champion who had hard CC looked like it did affect them, and not quite as mobile. He went for an early invade, or a very deep invade without the support of his laners, and that was kind of the first cracks that we've really seen in an Immortals early game. I mean, they have been behind in gold before, even to TSM early in the season, but they always seem to come back and take the victory, and I think that scare of playing that poorly against Renegades is going to spur them on to play very well.
Will shock them into a reality. A question for you, Dyrus. Maybe you can speak to, was there ever a moment in your career where you looked at a weekend and you said, there's definitely one opponent that maybe requires more of my attention and preparation, and then in hindsight, looking back, had regretted the fact that you maybe didn't pay as much attention to the lesser opponent?
Well, you see, when you ask a player that, it's not only just the players, the entire team, the coaching staff, the players, you know, coming together and be like, this person's a real threat. For example, last year when we played against Team Liquid, we'd be like, you know, Quas dominating Special are the ones that really start up the plays and the ones that really, you know, threaten the other team, and that when they win the game, it's these players. When they lose the game, it's also these players not doing what they're supposed to be. So when you ask me that, I'm thinking, as a team, how are we going to shut this person down? Do we need to pick up a new champion? And that goes into a whole nother topic of when you pick up a new champion, such as Rumble Jungle, that's been played before, and you play it for the first time on stage, like, how did it go? Are you going to play it again? Like, how does it translate? And when you play it for the first time, it's kind of scary, especially for a team that's been on an undefeated spree, and maybe complacency might get the better of them eventually, but if not, that just makes them more scary.
Yeah, it will be. Oh, go ahead.
So I was just going to ask you, if you're looking at Immortals, which would be the players that stand out to you as the ones that you want to target? Because there's been a lot of talk of, you know, who's the
real threat on that
exactly,
team?
And they all seem like pretty viable threats.
Well, Huni and Reignover went undefeated in Europe LCS, and the rest of the players are extremely solid at the same time. So we have a winning formula here to look at.
I guess maybe you just attack the people who have like the ridiculous winning streak in regular season, right? You know, at this point now, 29-0 or something, 18 and then 11, absolutely nuts. Moving forward, let's see. It's an explosive day of action. You guys were blowing up Twitter with your LCS big plays. First up, Delusional Zen called out his favorite moment from Cloud9's comeback win, saying, "Balls' late game barrel chain, the stuff of legends." Double IE, goodbye TSM. Let's check it out.
Doublelift trying to stand up front. His crits will change this fight. There's another hit from Balls. He comes up huge. The double kill for Sneaky. They could wipe out Team Solomon right here. And they have Baron to get in the base. You have to be kidding me.
Cloud9 timed that really well. Here's the barrel chain. Boom! Doublelift and Svenskeren get destroyed by the barrel chain right there.
I mean, everything about that game, there were so many team fights that had so many little things going on. It was actually really cool to watch. So many players on that team played really well in the team fights, but Balls was the one cranking out the DPS. It was like over 1,200 DPS. Or damage per minute.
Hopefully not DPS.
Excuse me. Damage per minute.
Yeah, but over 1,200 DPS.
But that's definitely one of the highest numbers that I've ever seen. Not even just this year, but that is ridiculous.
And Zyrene pointed it out yesterday on the analyst desk when we were watching that same replay there, but just how that single barrel could have gotten lost in the chaos of the team fight for so long, and Balls left it up, and then that was the one that was the initiator for the chain reaction that ended up winning them the fight. It just kind of speaks to the intensity of these games and how just a tiny little element like that can really swing a game one way or the other.
Just Gangplank things. He just does so much damage, and if you leave him alone, no one wants to attack the barrel, boom.
Yep.
1,000, 2,000 damage crit.
Right.
And at the same time, him positioning so well in all the fights and just never dying, he's just racking up the damage points.
Yeah, absolutely insane plays for him. Our next highlight was called out by GG Get Jinxed from our marathon match between Liquid and Echo Fox, who writes, Latucan OP. They forgot about him like people forgot about Dre, and he gets a quadra kill. Here it is.
And Keith is still alive. He's doing so much damage. It's a double kill. It's another one picked up. That's everybody from Team Liquid just dropping. Oh my God, Keith is a superhero.
Nice. What's happening?
Save the Lucian. Save the Lucian.
Save the Lucian!
Get Alistair, get Alistair. Lucian's fine, Lucian's fine. Alistair, okay.
Run it! Holy shit! Kill him!
Run down.
Yeah, I think the best part of that replay is the difference between big shot calling and Froggen shot calling.
God.
Because Froggen, you can tell he's this senior guy. He's very calm. He's like, push mid, guys, push mid. Just kill him, guys.
Yeah. Froggen's died. He's sitting there. He's like muffled by every other voice in the comms, and he's like, guys, just push mid, please, for the love of God, win the game. But anyway, that was fantastic play from Keith. It's good to see another member of that team step up, kind of illustrating the point that it isn't just Froggen. Froggen might be the leader of the pack, but he does have a solid roster behind him. Now, keep calling out your big plays throughout the day by tweeting at LOL Esports and use the hashtag LCS Big Plays. Or if you're angling to get your tweet on PTL, use hashtag ThePenta. Now, we can't invite a distinguished guest like Dyrus to the analyst desk without giving you at home an opportunity to pick his brain. So send your questions for Dyrus to at LOL Esports and be sure to include the hashtag AskDyrus. We'll pick some of your questions and have him answer them later in the show. With that, though, the midseason invitational is just around the corner, and we need to start evaluating where different regions stand, or rather, dance. Now, on Thursday, Captain Jack dropped a new dance as part of a post-game celebration, and yesterday, GBM answered the call with a dance of his own. So my question to you guys is, who do you think is better?
Just my initial reaction is Captain Jack. It felt like he had it planned, and he was set on doing it. And GBM was definitely spur of the moment thing, and he just kind of went into it half-hard, but
There's like camera angles.
Captain Jack had a better angle.
I think a lot of it was like the hype of like beating them, you know? He's just so happy and surprised about it.
Right, Longzhu over SKT is definitely reason for celebration.
And specifically Captain Jack over FLICKR. Like those two players have a very complicated history in solo queue and everything.
They love each other.
I think
exactly.
Yeah, then I think we might all be in agreement. We could probably give an edge to Captain Jack there. The enthusiasm plus the spur of the moment reaction to the winning of the game probably takes the cake there, but we'll see. We've still got time for NA to brush up on their new dancing skills. But now it's time to send it over to the casters to get us into the first game.
Hello and thank you for joining us, everyone. I am Rivington Bizen III, and I am joined by our resident dance expert, Aiden Cyrene Moon.
You know what the key is to a great dance? You have to gel and flow.
There you go. That's exactly the two keys you need before you can start to two-step. But coming up in our first game of the day, it's going to be Renegade versus Counter Logic Gaming. And if you've been watching the LCS, Renegades are sitting at the bottom of the standings, but I think they did surprise fans yesterday with their game against Immortals.
Yeah, yesterday, Renegades had their best game in a long time, Riv. And despite them actually losing to Immortals at the end of the day, they were the first team to take away first blood, and they looked energized and coordinated in their early skirmishes. But of course, despite going up with 6 kills on Immortals, Renegade's highest gold lead in that game was actually only 162 gold. That's only 3 potions, Riv. So I don't think those potions were used incredibly effectively, because Renegades, they were working as a team and using superior numbers, but they need to be conscious of what they're giving up when they move as a group. It's like 5-manning that mid lane. Well, what are you losing on the other sides of the map?
Right, and you're talking about Counter Logic Gaming. That is going to be a tough order. A team known for their rotations and macro play.
Yeah, and CLG, they showcased that yesterday with a super clean win over Team Impulse. And a large part of that was actually Xmithy in the jungle, who played Nidalee for the first time this split, and he actually ended the game with the most gold and damage on the team, a stat he actually hasn't held since joining CLG. We talked about CLG as a number 2 team on the desk, and they cannot lose to Renegades if they want to stay in this conversation.
Well, let's see how Renegades do. Let's check out the starting lineups. Let's get right into it. On the blue side, it is Renegades. That's RF Legendary in the top lane, Crumbs in the jungle, Alex Ishin mid, Freeze at AD carry, and Hakuo at support with Coach Hermes.
And on the red side, it's Counter Logic Gaming. Darshan in the top lane, Smithy in the jungle, Huhi in mid, Stixay at AD carry, Aframu on support, and Coach Zix taking care of those picks and bans.
We'll see how the early game goes for Renegades. Much obviously stronger, and that's how they got their foot in the door last game. We saw Crumbs on that Gragas in the jungle, which helped him get a little more in the face of the other jungler. He was kind of causing disruption. He didn't get the team too much of a lead, but it allowed Crumbs to kind of get the vision down he likes to get and then enable a few things for Renegades.
Yeah, and that draft that Renegades had up against Immortals yesterday, I actually thought that Renegades had a very good composition. The Malphite Orianna with the Gragas behind it, and then they had Freeze on Caitlyn, and that seemed to be a really good combination with the Braum. So Renegades have been drafting pretty smart in the last few drafts that they've had, but yesterday I think they came up really big despite not winning that game. I want to see what they get here against CLG, who have been kind of all over the place in picks and bans, but they've been finding that mid lane assassin for Huhi is what they like to go towards now.
Yep. See the Kog'Maw getting banned out. That may mean the Lulu is actually left up for the composition. We see those two being either paired or taken apart in these comps. The Nidalee will be taken away. Recognize that play from Smithy right away. And actually the Lulu goes along the wayside with the Kog'Maw. It is going to be a first and very quick pick, Gangplank.
Oh, a Gangplank for possibly RF or Alex each here.
Yeah.
RF back on the lineup this week. And yesterday, he actually got a large lead on Malphite, but he wasn't actually able to use it. He gave up a whole bunch of CS. He didn't pressure appropriately. So if RF is able to actually snowball a lead here, he might be able to come up with a big Gangplank to take over the game.
Right. No, it's going to have to happen. It almost seems like CLG left that up, feeling like if they're not going to get their Nidalee, they get the Gragas now, and also take the Corki away. We've seen that go into the mid lane quite a bit lately. Froggen's played the last 3 games for Echo Fox. Now looking for Renegades. Pick. It's going to be Braum Lucian. Quick going for both teams. They know what they want here.
Yeah, Braum very strong right now. Highly prioritized support since the Alistar nerfs. And it synergizes really well with things like Lucian, and also we have Kog'Maw that it synergizes with too. But I want to go back to the Corki here, because if that's Huhi's Corki, Huhi actually has not died this season on Corki. He's currently 10-0-7 on that champion over 2 games, and it's been something that, you know, he loves playing assassins, he loves diving in. I think his package use is actually quite good on this champion because he's not afraid to make those dives.
You can kind of flip that switch and go in, but no, he needs to stay in a good position because you're still quite a squishy champion once you make that dive. 19 seconds here. CLG actually taking their time as they round out the 4 and 5 pick for themselves, and it's going to be a Bard and Ezreal. So we're going to see that Aframu Bard coming into play.
All right, so you know what's in the mid lane here for CLG. It's going to be that Corki with Ezreal as AD carry. Now Bard down in that bot lane for Aframu. Aframu, he's really good at making those rotational plays with the Bard and catching people out of position. Little strange here though, because CLG have a double AD composition. The Bard is a good amount of pick and a little bit of engage.
Yeah.
They have one of the best disengaged junglers, and I think that CLG, Poppy would be the best thing to round this composition out with in the top lane. And I think that's actually a pretty kind of in the middle of the road pick for Darshan. He played it yesterday to great effect, and I think that it's got that mixture of offensive pushing power and lane dominance and team fighting that I think CLG can use in a versatile way.
And we may see even more aggressive play out of that Poppy from Darshan. Like you said, just that one time yesterday against Impulse, so he really hasn't had a chance to go off on that champion. Another champion, however, we saw yesterday was Karma, and will be locked in once again with Rek'Sai.
I think we're knowing who scrimmed who this week. So Renegades picking up the Karma. GBM played it yesterday, and they ended up winning that game. And utility mid laners are kind of coming back into style. We're seeing Zillion, Karma, Lulu be high priorities for a lot of teams because it enables your stars on the team sometimes to actually take control of the game. It's going to give confidence to Freeze that he can run forward. You can speed up a Gangplank, which getting that last parlay in is sometimes what makes the fight and makes the difference.
Last pick now for Counter Logic Gaming. 18 seconds to go. He said it will be for Darshan in the top lane.
I'm personally expecting
banned out. It looks like the Poppy is somewhat the only thing left for him, unless he goes back to the Rise. Is he gonna throw in the Pantheon pick?
Oh, right.
And we're gonna get a top lane Pantheon from Darshan here, and it might be the matchup versus RF Legendary's Gangplank.
Oh man, Pantheon is very lane dominant. He needs to be able to get a lead early on, but the rotational play you can make with this team comp and diving on the back line, nobody is safe at that point. Renegades lineup, the only people who are going to get tanky are the jungler and support. If you're able to jump onto the Karma, the Lucian, and get on Freeze or RF, you're going to be able to destroy at least one of them. And I want to see what Darshan takes here as a Keystone Mastery, because Thunderlord's Decree is good for his combo, but if you want to go for Spear Poke, sometimes you actually take Deathfire Touch on Pantheon. It's a little bit different, but I've seen it before.
I want to see the synergy. They've planned this out, the Tempered Fate into the man drop. We'll see if he can get it to work. The timing is going to have to be perfect, but the composition overall looks like it's going to be very hard to fight against. You have the poke, and you also have disengage from Gragas. We'll see if Renegades can get themselves into the fight. The coaches will step off stage, and now it is up to the players. Let us know if you think CLG will take sole possession of second place with this game, or if Renegades will stop them in their tracks. Send your predictions to @LOL Esports with the hashtag REN win or the hashtag CLG win, and we'll tally those votes up as we get into game. Week 6, day 2 here. It has been going very fast. Teams don't have much more time to kind of fix the things that are wrong. They need to be fixed now, and the wins need to start flowing in. We're going to be getting onto the Rift right now. Renegades versus Counter Logic Gaming.
Yep, after today, we will be 2/3 of the way through the split here, Riv, with only 6 games remaining after that. I want to see what goes on with this top lane Pantheon, though. That's where my attention is. The Corrupting Potions start.
Yep.
Very standard. You need to get that mana back, throwing the spears constantly, and it also gives you some extra poke and trading power. But I want to see the shield blocking parlays. I believe that's how that interaction works, is that Pantheon will auto-attack minions, and then you cannot get the same type of parlay harass that you normally get as Gangplank.
Interesting. All right, who he taking some hits. He's going to pop the Corruption Potion, rather. Remember, if you go back by 120, you basically make it back to lane in time for everything, or to your jungle cabs. A lot of love taps in the beginning of this game.
Yeah, trading back and forth. CLG actually like to go for a lot of blind invades here. They like to go run into the enemy jungle, put down some wards for the lane swap here. But nobody actually gets lane swap wards down. They get some jungle wards down to see that. But actually, Renegades won't have much information there. It's only going to be CLG that have what side of the map is being started on here.
I wanted to see the matchup. Doesn't look like we're going to get it, Zyrene.
Nope.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, lane swap. That's something you really want to do, though, is when you don't know a matchup, if your top laner is unfamiliar with it, just lane swap it. Make sure that the Pantheon doesn't have that early game, and just think about scaling for a second. GP scaling, if you can keep your GP safe and at least funnel some gold into him, he's way more effective in the late game. Pantheon's early game dominance.
We saw that with Cloud9.
Exactly. Pantheon's early game dominance is something you actually should be very afraid of.
Right, you have to keep on that, pedal to the metal. As soon as Darshan gets a lead, hopefully CLG, for their hopes, can keep that lead in their favor. Up to the top lane, see how 2v1 works out. We already see a little bit of a roam here from Aphromoo. As per usual, we'll see what kind of trouble he can cause for Crumbs in the jungle.
Aphromoo walking up here to both of them. It is going to be Storm Raider Surge for the Pantheon.
Oh, you are correct.
Yeah.
I like it.
I love it.
That movement speed to continue on in the fight once you burst out your opponent.
A little bit back and forth here. Aphromoo. Keep going. Keep chunking him. Keep going.
Well, he's got no worry now.
Yeah,
No
RF
parlays
ditched
to come
him.
in. Yeah. RF's like, this is all you, man.
He's going to get the little ones.
No, he took a Raptor.
Here comes Darshan, though. So he's going to he has to leave it.
He tried to get just under him to Cosmic bind him against the wall one more time. Darshan would have had a first blood. So it looks like they're going to go down and get themselves to the turret now, looking for a kill along the way. That's something we were talking about at Counter Logic Gaming, is those rotations, which would make this game hard for Renegades. Within their rotations, already trying to get kills, already trying to get ahead.
Yeah, Counter Logic Gaming, they're that team that we always praise for having such a good lane swap game. And they're able to actually adjust a little bit on the fly. They understand how a lane swap should go from a standard perspective, but also they recognize deviations from it.
So
Are they starting on their weak side of the jungle? Well, we need to punish that with Aphromoo, and Aphromoo knows when to stop punishing and how far he can actually push that.
That's when it becomes scary, when a team has those strategies as second nature and they can bend them to their own will and make it work.
Yeah, you're like, this isn't how it should be going. You're doing something wrong. It's not us. And then they punish them.
Exactly. So not too much gained off of that. Counter Logic Gaming, trade a turret. It's going to be on the top side here, just about the same time. The game is going to pan out very slowly here for these lane swaps in the beginning of it. Anybody caught in the jungle will really be where that lead is taken.
Ooh. So, slight difference here. The gold in the bot lane turret was actually spread out between 3 members, Aphromoo, Darshan, and then also Stixxay. Whereas the top lane went completely to RF, went completely to the Gangplank. So he's actually up about 200 gold over Darshan now because of that, and because, of course, a little bit of extra gold from 3CS. Oh no, 3CS. It's the difference here.
I have to keep an eye on it. I need someone to do my taxes. Whoever comes out with more, lock it down. Oh, a little reacher on here from Crumbs. He is going to get, no, the knock up. Well timed by who he channeled it previously, seeing the aggression from Alex Each and kind of played that into his escape. Nicely done. Did have to blow the summoner spell.
Yep, exhaust down from Huhi, making sure that he can't be actually blown up by anybody. It's an interesting summoner spell choice here. It actually signals to me that he's going to be going into that backline pretty frequently. Because his core point, normally you're sitting there going, well, I'm going to maybe run TP to help my lanes out. Maybe I'm going to run heal. But the exhaust is saying, well, if there's an assassin, I'm going to be able to exhaust him and stop his damage. There's no assassin. So he's going to be the assassin jumping in and exhausting people trying to get those fights when he divides them with package.
Also, this back, just a telling of how slow we're going to be in Farm Fest. The Cole was picked up by Freeze after his first buy.
We're seeing that more and more, and it's something that Freak actually loves and was telling me about it before people were doing it. He's just like, yeah, people should really be picking that up second item after a lane swap, because when you swap turrets back and then you push out the lane, which everybody is doing to get those second turrets, you're actually going to get like 20 of those Cole stacks off right there. And you're perfectly fine, especially against a blue Ezreal who's going to go for a tier and try to delay his power spike.
Right.
Just try to get on the same level as his. And
riding the curve.
Exactly. Delay your power spike a tiny bit to get that burst later.
I don't like a Cyrene. I want to see fighting. I want to see this.
I mean, that's why play-by-play casters love to call fights. So I got you. I got you.
Lane swap gentleman agreement things. I don't know about this.
It's the ceremonial taking of the turrets for the first 6 minutes.
Oh, you got one? Okay, we get one now. See what Alpha Moo does here. Just setting up vision. Looks like they actually may try to bump down Rift Herald real quick and get a little more aggression. Maybe clears from Smithy, and then he can get back into the lanes to help get more push down. See who takes it. Oh, look out. That's low. It's all right. There you go. So Smithy does decide to take that one. Huhi and Alex Each continue to trade in mid lane as both hit level 6.
Okay, slight difference here. Darshan's wave is actually going to shove out. He didn't bounce it appropriately. He's going to push it and try to gather some CS, and he has to bounce it off the second turret if he wants it to come back to him. But his wave on the bottom side also is unfarmable right now. So Renegades are going to be able to pick up a lot of CS, both in that top side and in this bottom side, because of the way that the turrets were handled. It's just that tiny little micro thing that was thrown off.
So what you're saying is let the minions die at the turret. Be pushed.
Yeah, the bouncing of the turret is actually quite important. You can lose an entire lane off of that if your opponent punishes you appropriately.
Well, we'll definitely keep an eye on where the stacks for CS go between Darshan and RF Legendary as they begin to pick it up. It actually looks like Freeze is going to be getting that other lane. So his CS will be the one going through the roof, a little engage in mid lane, but Aframu makes it out safely. Doesn't look like they really want to fight with all the items that were picked up, saying we're in farm mode right now.
Yep.
A bit of damage for CLG with 2 Sheens there, but nothing too surprising for Renegades.
Yeah, Darshan is still staying up really far without ward coverage. So he's got one ward on the side of him, but he has to shove this wave up. It's pretty much the mission that he's pushed himself into. There's the parlay being blocked by the Pantheon passive. So he has to shove this wave up. He's very vulnerable. He's actually not being capitalized on at all. And then this wave gets to turret. It'll bounce appropriately from there.
Yeah.
But Darshan is actually able to weather the storm and the risk of pushing this wave up.
Also helps that he quickly just, not even quickly, RF didn't hit those barrels, so really just delaying the threat for that top lane.
Ooh, since he pushed that wave out, he's able to gank Alex Each from behind.
I was wondering when he would start moving. Pre-6 gank from the Panth. Still very effective, and Alex Each is forced to summoner his way out.
That cleanse can be very important because if Darshan hits 6, which he will in the near future, and lands in the mid lane, he'll get that stun off, and there's nothing that Alex can do about it at that point. Playing around cleanse cooldown is something we see Lissandra mid lanes do, where they'll ulti just to get it out, just so the next one that they do is a kill.
Just makes it that much easier. Aframu was able to go back and get his sight stone. Hakuo is still waiting on a little bit of gold there, so the vision for CLG is flooding. Oh, I guess not flooding. They're just keeping it in the river still. I guess they don't have the power to enter Renegade's jungle, but it's definitely a lot more vision on that side.
Huhi with the package in the mid lane. See if he goes assassin mode again.
His exhaust did come up.
Yeah.
Could be ready to do it. He'll most likely get this level 8 off of that, so he'll be tied up with Alex Each. off in the lane to grab blue buff, so Huhi's trying to look to push this lane as fast as possible.
Yeah, you push the wave and then you roam. He has a possible opening on the bot side since all 4 turrets on the top side and bottom side, those 4 the outer ones, are all taken. You have many routes in, and you can see right now he's actually going by this pink ward behind the back of Dragon Pit. If he clears that out, and he finds it, which he hasn't yet, then he'll actually have a clear route bottom. And he looks like he's actually just walking around for it and setting up his route, testing the vision, but he doesn't see that ward.
So he's all right. Just about 5% left on the package. Seems like this one's going to fizzle out. Don't need to use it. Okay.
It's a short one.
Make me a liar. That's it. That's what he's looking for.
Just that minion wave. It didn't see it coming.
Hey, he's still getting his push.
So
get back out.
Yeah, Runic Echo's completed for Smithy, so he went with the jungle item for Gragas that gives him the movement speed, as well as some barrel wave clearing power. I think it's actually quite good. Despite his team not having any tanks, he'll eventually build tanky. You can see, really, you just pick it up like an Elise would, mostly for the clear and the dueling power, because right now he could pretty much beat Crumbs in a one-on-one with that.
So looking at CLG's composition, how does this fight kind of work for you? Because if it's done wrong, you're not hitting any of your poke, you're not getting anybody, or the Tempered Fate's not hitting. How do you see it working out?
So the way that this is going to work out for CLG is Darshan becomes split pusher if he can gain an advantage over RF Legendary. Gangplank is more of a team fighter and less of a split pusher. He can kind of stall split push waves though with his ultimate when he's grouped as 5. But you're going to have the core, that is the Bard, Ezreal, Corki, and Gragas, 2 disengage/engage champions with 2 poke champions with mixed damage. That's your core 4-man unit. If Darshan gets split push advantage, he has TP and he also has his ultimate, the Grand Skyfall, to join that fight. So then CLG puts a timer on the engage from Renegades, which they actually don't have much engage. So they could end up losing turrets to Siege and then losing turrets on top lane. Oh, nice.
Oh, whoa! Smithy going in very hard. Does get the flash for flash on that play. Looks like Smithy could have gotten himself a little too far in here. Crumbs taking shots to the back. Still is able to get the kill on doing Smithy. That's first blood. That's a double kill for Crumbs on the rec side. They probably get Aframu here as well, but they're keeping it for Darshan. You are absolutely correct, Zyrene. I don't know if they fully want it. It's been such a long fight. Renegades is able to bolster themselves once again. Hakuo now gets in there. Crumbs looking for a tunnel. Aframu turned around for another attack and gets the triple kill over to Crumbs.
Renegades group up and they take CLG by surprise. It's exactly what they did yesterday to Immortals. They did not expect that many members to be on the same page and collapse that quickly. Renegades make it through the early game unscathed, even with CLG, and then they have a skirmish that was actually started off by the members of CLG. Smithy went in.
Not sure as well if that kill, if he would have gotten that first kill, if it would have really been any different than getting it. I think Renegades still would have taken the rest of the fight and had the same result in the end. 4-1. 12 minutes in, that's a 3K gold.
Yeah, well, Ezreal's actually on the bottom side of the map the entire time stays down there. RF is sitting in this bush. Huhi uses the Valkyrie to get out, so the timer on that is very long. He won't have it for the rest of this. Smithy, body slam flash in to try and finish them. The Runic Echo's damage is not enough, and that's when Crumbs comes in, and it's a 2-on-3 now. They end up killing him. Boom, Crumbs is able to go after Huhi. He doesn't have Valkyrie back up yet, and Aframu flashes in. And there comes Darshan. So one member goes down from Renegades. But look at that, another member comes in, the numbers game. That's all that they're playing on Renegade's side is the numbers game. As soon as the skirmish comes out, people are coming there much faster than CLG members. And you can see Stixay just now makes it to the mid lane because he had a wave bottom that he had to clear out, that he wanted to push.
All right, another spark early game here from Renegades.
Let's see what they can do with it this time, because last time they only had 160 some odd gold advantage. Now they actually have thousands of gold.
Working with a little bit here.
It's about 100 times or 10 times more of an advantage.
Now, hopefully they don't spend it all on potions. Oh no, that's there's too much follow-up on that from CLG. That's the thing, though. You anger CLG, they want to get something back immediately. They will push any advantage they may have slightly had. And this is not the situation that Renegades was looking for right after that fight to get them in the game.
Wow, Renegades actually just do what CLG did. They're 80 carry. Freeze is pushing bottom. You're outnumbered no matter what. It's going to be a 4-on-5. Why are you picking that fight? Now here comes the TP. You might not even get this turret on the top side.
Very back and forth. The second this game goes off the handle, CLG finds their way back in. There's a flash. Aegis stun as well. Freeze is going to throw down the heal.
Oh, here comes RF.
Yeah, they're a little bit
He's
afraid
over
of
the wall,
RF
though.
Legendary. The jump. Darshan's out. He says, later, Huhi.
Right behind him.
He tried to jump a little farther, thinking the fight would go up, but Huhi started to kite down with the amount of pressure still coming in. Smithy on the other side. There's the auto coming in from Alex Each. This is starting to become a bloodbath. This was looking for early games, Irene. Lane swap or not, we're getting the fights in now. 14 minutes in. We're all even 5-5.
They ended up getting divided there. That was actually a pretty good Grand Skyfall there from Darshan because it made it so that Freeze was now zoned off from the backside as opposed to the front side. And then he's not able to actually group up with Alex and continue his auto attacks. You saw he was so scared of the jump and the stun from Pantheon. RF actually couldn't get back into that fight. We saw his TP and then he walked around, but when he walked into the lane, Gragas showed himself because he was coming down that bottom side. And then RF could not enter the lane that side and actually get the wraparound. So Smithy a little bit faster with that. Runic Echo's coming into play.
Runic Swifties flying around the map. See it one more time on this. So Freeze goes out. It looks like Darshan's going to leave, but he has a method to the madness.
They think they have numbers advantage. You see here, ends up jumping there, and now they're divided, and Freeze runs off to the side. He can't keep running forward towards Huhi. Huhi will give him auto attacks, and Darshan will just get the W off. And you can see Gragas made it there before RF did. RF had to go through that bush, in the tri-bush area, and then he got cut off as soon as he saw Smithy. He had to return, because they thought they had superior numbers on Renegade side. They thought it was a 3-on-2, and it wasn't. It was a 2-on-2, and then turned into a 3-on-2. Not in their favor, and Alex just barely makes it to the other side.
He got the wrong bump. He was looking for the right side. Good move by Alex as well to get himself in the right position as he stacks up a rod of Aegis. Looking to just hang out in mid lane. But everybody's starting to charge up very, very quickly. I don't know if there's going to be any time to really sit back and relax at this point. Dragon going over to CLG. That will be number 2 on the game. See that one coming up at 22-11 as Renegades tries to take down this Rift Herald. That was also grabbed by CLG first. So they're Renegades trying to at least get back on some objectives to get themselves back in.
So Renegades, even in turrets again now with CLG. Rift Herald picked up for themselves. Even in Rift Heralds now 1-1. And 1,200 gold up for Renegades. So they're still having a superior early game. But there are some power spikes here for CLG. Despite Stixxay being down about 40 CS, he does have a really good Ezreal power spike now for the sieging alongside the Trinity Force of Huhi. So now they're actually able to go against these turrets. You're going to start seeing the split push come in because Darshan has ultimate as well. I also really like the Storm Raider Surge is a little bit questionable. I want to see how it comes into play because I understand the theory crafting behind it. You jump in, if you hit anybody with Grand Skyfall, you're going to get it. But a lot of what Pantheon does is where he stands in one place with a Heartseeker strike. It's just the follow-up after. Maybe he wants to get that last crit, run in and get the auto. Now he has Youmuu's, though, to help him out in that regard anyway. So he's going to be a very fast Pantheon if he gets that off. Also,
once it works, oh,
Crumbs.
He said, I will take this journey.
Going after Aphromoo.
He wants to. Well, they see that the Gangplank ultimate was used. CLG may actually want to take this as Crumbs get spread.
Pantheon.
Skyfall comes out. That's going to be around Stixxay, so they are okay on the side of Renegades. And this shield has actually been stopping quite a bit. I thought it was actually quite nice that they used the Essence, the True Shot Barrage, I should say, first, and then used the Corky Poke, but then they went hard, and it didn't even matter.
Yeah, they're actually stopping the siege here from Renegade's side. They're able to actually stall it out, and then continue to poke. So this Karma is becoming a big pain, and Hakuho on the Braum stopping a lot of the sieging and the poke is also really good for them. So CLG and Renegades, this is looking like a really good game so far.
Crumbs knows he is ahead at this point, and very, very strong. 3-1-1, all going into these fights with the confidence of his team behind him, the shields he can get from Alex Ish to make sure they're strong, and also the separation on RF's ultimate. We saw them try to put that into play. CLG doing a good job at getting themselves around the fight, getting good positioning in. Haven't not seen the damage from Huhi and Stixxay just yet, though. Back again onto Huhi, calling for the Valkyrie. He actually gets hit by the Glacial Fissure as well. Hakuho quick to the Unbreakable once again, and now they're onto Aphromoo. He can't get through the journey this time. It just becomes a nightmare. The auto coming in from Stixxay with the Sheen proc on it, crushing down onto Freeze, and it looks like CLG gets the fight they want. The Aegis onto Legendary. The hit from Darshan. They're back onto Alex Each, and that's going to be the ace for CLG.
And all of a sudden, Storm Raider Surge looks really good. Darshan comes in from the backside, and he just cleans up. As soon as he's able to get that spear and that crit and take out Hakuho, he's able to continue to run and get in range for that W follow-up.
And this
This is cool.
has been planned for so long. Not the fact that that fight worked, but the side lanes so ready for Counter Logic Gaming here to be pushed. Not pruned by Renegades throughout this fight. This pushing in the mid. You can see already Darshan leaving top, and that lane's ready after this fight.
Yep, and they're able to actually turn it around on him. Afromu goes down, but he gets a stun and buys time, so they trade 1-for-1 at this point. But then the poke there, both AD carries from CLG stacked on top of each other, and then it's just the Bruiser follow-up. Storm Raider surge allows him to close the distance. Ends up finishing off RF. And then he blocks a turret shot. So Pantheon, great diver for that as well, because he has that.
People flashing for kills.
Barely takes any damage from these turrets. And that actually allows Pantheon to build a little bit squishier than you would expect. So the Youmuu's Ghostblade is fine. He's still able to dive turrets. He's still able to block some abilities, or like parlay. But now he can go for things like the Sterix, like the Black Cleaver. I wouldn't even say like Maw is out of the question here. I think there's a lot of great things you can build on Pantheon. And he's currently sporting, I believe, 40. Yeah, he's got 40 armor penetration at the moment. So running a bit in his page there. A 20 from the Ghostblade, and then also the Masteries.
We can see how fast the fight turned as soon as he got there.
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
knows they're getting deleted. So
everybody's paper to him.
Respecting that.
Yeah, Lucian basically has 18 armor, and Karma has 20 armor in the face of this Pantheon.
The cloth armor stands true now.
It's all you have, though. You're just wearing paper at that point.
Muramana finished up for Stixxay here, so he's going to start putting out some big damage as well.
Oh, so now comes the play where you bait out Baron, you get vision control of it from CLG. Darshan has split push advantage. He can kill RF every time he goes in. He has that advantage now. Bait the other side of the map. Your TP is up. See what happens here. Just controlling the area, that's all they're doing. CLG, they don't think Renegades are actually going to bite.
No, they have that TP up as well.
Who he wants it back for the package. He really wants to get the package before a Baron fight. It's funny because the time that they've had, they may have actually been able to take the Baron by now.
I think even the pressure on it is what I'm thinking, because RF can be stopped by Darshan, and then Darshan can just teleport right in front of him.
They're all going after Darshan right now, so there's 4 members on the bot side. Saw Crumbs use his ultimate and then home guard towards him, but Darshan a little aware of what's going to happen. Possibly Grand Sky falling into the middle of the lane in a bit. There's just a decent amount of engage here. CLG.
Yeah. And they feel confident too, so they're not going to hesitate to use it.
If you Bard ulti on a group of people, Darshan can channel his ulti.
That's what I was saying. That synergy has to be there. Oh, the blocks.
Oh.
It hasn't seemed to affect him too much. I wondered about the Braum pick once, or not the Braum pick, but the Ezreal after seeing the Braum and whatnot. But they're able to still force them off with the amount of damage.
Smithy has a portal.
Yeah, he was still built. I saw the Raptors Raptor cloak, and I was like, it'll be here soon.
Yeah, he's running down bottom to go place it in a ward, or place it in a bush.
hide it in the cap of the ward?
Yeah. You place it there. Now that minion wave will never pass that point and will constantly push towards the enemy side. And also it becomes very, very annoying, because when you are doing Baron, you still have this minion wave pushing bottom. It's always going to push. It's always going to be on CLG's side now because of that portal. In order to clear that out, you have to push the gigantic minion wave that's built up. You have to push again. You have to push through Darshan, who's most likely going to be guarding it, and then you have to kill the portal. If you allocate too many people to do that, because RF cannot do that alone, then you're going to lose Baron on the opposite side of the map. It becomes this gigantic mission that's worth too much. And it's right in range, too, to actually have those minions, the, I don't even know what they're called, the Void Spawns.
Oh, Zats? I call it Zats.
The Zats. All right.
Zats.
The Zats. When they reach that's just in range to actually reach that tier 2, so that tier 2 will continue to take damage if that minion wave is shoved up.
They are Void minions, though.
Yeah, they're Void Spawns.
Yes.
Not to be confused with Voidlings like Malzahar.
But they're Zats.
The Zats.
The Zats.
All right.
3K gold in favor of CLG here. It was 1 or 2 towards the beginning of this game for Renegades. Still starting off strong, but losing kind of control of the map as things start to spread out. Maybe it was vision, maybe it's something else. But teams always seem to get the better of them around that 15-20 minute mark. And now, as we said, with that Srap portal in the bot lane and CLG usually having their lanes pushed up, one fight could mean Renegade's base here.
I know a lot of people who are really happy with this Pantheon pick. It's those guys in solo queue who are like, just let me pick Pantheon every time. Every time. It's like,
so ready.
Okay, I guess so. Can he take on RF? easily.
Just a few shots.
There it is. Baron call here for CLG. Renegades. There goes the blue trinket. They know.
So they go. Oh,
Darshan killed him.
How did he live? He must have thrown himself a heal on the other side, but here comes Renegades through the journey. The Cosmic doesn't stun anybody. It only hits one. I don't think they have enough to chase. Darshan's going to be able to stay bot lane now. Yep. They were saying, hey, come up, and he changes his mind, keeps heading back down. That's going to be a turret that drops. TP's up for RF Legendary, but not for 20 seconds because he is dead.
Yeah, I think RF was actually looking at the Baron fight while fighting Darshan because he had to throw his ultimate down, and that's when Darshan struck and actually blew him up. So wasn't really paying attention. He had his attention divided because you have to watch the Baron fight.
Yeah.
You have to watch where your team is on the map at the same time. And Darshan took advantage of that. Here comes the Grand Skyfall. Where's he going? Right onto Alex.
Blue. Alex is close. He is going to be able to hop in. That's a little too much damage than what he wanted. Huhi with a pretty nice Foss bomb that almost drops Hakuo. Hard to talk. And it looks like he flashes over the wall to get himself safe. That actually baits in Renegades to want that kill, and it may have been too much. The True Shot Barrage cleans up 2, and it looks like they'll be able to get 3 and 4 on this one. Crumbs is going to say, walk this way. The base is not what you want, but CLG still gets it fast enough, and RF Legendary just coming up is the last one left as Alex Shees heads back to the base.
CLG a little rocky in that early game where they did get an advantage over Renegades, and they were taken by surprise when Renegades grouped up so early on. And now CLG are the ones with all of the cards. They're in the driver's seat, making this Baron power play, and the advantage in split push as well by 2 levels for Darshan.
Decide take this. Still have bot wave pushed a little bit, but the health bar is being half right now. Could be bad problems with 2 members coming up. So it looks like they're going to clear this wave, get themselves back and more items. And once they grab control of this game, Chronologic Gaming usually does not let go.
No, they don't, especially when you're in this position.
Yeah.
After moves Bard, sometimes we'll see some Bard performances by him where it's like, okay, well, that maybe wasn't the best move. Speaking of not the best move, Darshan jumps in, doesn't really have mana for the follow-up here, and then the Bard ulti comes down, it zones, and that's where Darshan ends up dropping. Freeze thinks that he can get him because he knows Valkyrie's down, but the flash from Huhi to reposition, and then Xmithy with the flash body slam, and the barrage hitting true there onto 2 members, picking it up. 6A. There's been some highlight clips of his true shot barrages before. That guy's pretty good at Ezreal.
Good, just like over the shoulder, no look.
Yep, no look. Close your eyes. And now CLG, they can 1-3-1 if they want to.
Yep.
They have that middle inhib that's down. It's going to constantly be pushing. Oh! Is this low?
Everybody's with you, Zyrene. Here comes Grand Skyfall. Crumbs.
Oh, the knockup!
Oh, he lives. He will get out of this one. Like, push back. He's actually saved. We are going to see Huhi coming back down mid lane. I believe he has a package. Looks to be cruising quite fast right now.
Yeah, he does.
I don't know if they're going to keep a fight up here. He should have time to use it, but Chronologic Gaming do not get a kill on that push. Renegades should be able to stand tall here on this defense.
Those are actually a few moments of brilliance there for Renegades. We saw Crumbs knock up just in the right moment to stop Darshan, pretty close in those frames. And then Hakuo actually put his shield up to block Smithy's final barrel to actually try and blow him up there. So the Braum shield absorbing that and actually just stopping it short. Yeah. So Crumbs took no damage and walked away with sub 100 HP.
He's saying thank you.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Looking at finalized items. Lockets are there. A little bit more help for Renegades here so they don't get zeroed out in these fights by Darshan. But the whole team of CLG may just be too much at this point. Looking at an 8,000 gold lead right now on Renegades as they knock on the front door once again. Middle being pressured by Huhi so he can somewhat come around the side and just get the poke in while the rest of the team pushes the lane. Crumbs is gonna go straight in. We saw this in mid lane just at the midway part of the game.
And this is the timer I keep talking about. Pantheon on the bot side, split push advantage. RF doesn't really want to fight him because now Darshan can just dive him and kill him, and we've seen it happen before. So Darshan pretty much gets a free lane to continue scaling. RF can't really go toe-to-toe with him, and Renegades keep saying, well, Karma, we need to engage. Put shields on everybody, run at the 4-man unit, and there's enough disengage and peel on this 4-man squad of CLG that they just buy time for Darshan.
Definitely need to fight with this turret if they can.
Darshan, is he going to ulti? There he goes. Where's he going?
It's going to be right on the inhibitor. He is falling. The Tempered Fate goes onto the turret so the team can come through. But they got to be ready. Who's going to be taking that when it comes back out? Darshan takes all the damage, and he is the only one down right now. Renegades starting to push back. And this is going to be Stixay on the right side of the wall. The focus is on Aphromoo, locking down and more crowd control. But it's going to be Crumbs going down. RF Legendary. They have his eye. Oh, he tried to flash over the wall, but flashed up. And the small mistakes are when CLG begins to capitalize. One after the other. Double kill now for Stixay. Possibly the triple to follow through as he finalizes with another Mystic shot. Taken over by Huhi. And they're going to head down and most likely to Renegade's Nexus.
Yep, there you go. Clean ace there. They do lose Darshan with the engage, but that's going to be another inhibitor going down. They have minions in the base. They're actually going to ignore that. It's the game. It's more important. Take down the Nexus. That's going to be CLG keeping their hands on that second place spot.
That's right. They will take sole possession of second place until the games are played later today. Right now, Counterlogic Gaming, 30 minutes in, struggling in the beginning of the game against Renegades, are finally able to take them down. And CLG takes down Renegades.
CLG, that mid-game, little bit sloppy, but honestly, they looked rather good when they started grouping up again and having these skirmishes and playing to their composition strengths. Darshan with that gigantic advantage in the top lane. And Xmithie, another good game from him. 2-1 and 13. And this is when Gragas was back in the meta. Everybody's like, well, now Xmithie has another champion he can play really effectively. And it wasn't Cinderhulk. It was Runic Echoes for him. Doesn't have to be that sole tank on the team. And once again, Huhi, really, really good Corki performance. Died twice, though, so it's 2 deaths now for his Corki overall in the LCS. But we do have to talk about Renegades, because Renegades are looking better and better now. It's no longer that kind of stunted growth. They seem like they're actually coming into themselves and going, you know what, this is how we play the game. Freak, what are you doing down there?
No, you're absolutely right, though. Renegades have been showing much stronger in the early parts of the game, and that's kind of what you're always playing. It's like everybody always has somewhat of a better laning phase, and then you look at fighting phase, something that may not happen as much. And a lot of times, teams are avoiding that and only going for objectives, so you may not be getting all that practice in that you want, but we are seeing those glimpses from Renegades in their early game recently.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of teams in the LCS mess up lane swaps, and then it's like, oh, well, they got 2 turrets to 1, and now we slowly but surely bleed out. This was a game where the lane swap went well. Renegades played it well. Then they grouped up much faster than CLG thought they would, and they were able to take advantage of that and get themselves a lead of multiple thousands of gold there. CLG eventually came back with better skirmishes, and then Darshan got that lead over RF, and then that's what slowly bled the game out there, is they just kept pushing that advantage, because in order to push back, you have to give up a lot on the other side of the map, and then at that point, it's not really worth it, so.
Oh, wow. Went over to Counterlogic Gaming, sole possession of second place right now. We'll see who can join them later today. But right now, we are going to Grand Skyfall down to Freak, who's on side stage with CLG's top laner.
Thank you very much, Riv. I'm here with Darshan, the man who played Pantheon. Talk to me, why today, why this game for Pantheon? And why is he good also?
Well, I used to be known as on Spartan, but you know, that Spartan part of me never dies, so got to bust out the Pantheon, show people my real namesake, and it's pretty fun to play.
So you brought him out because he's fun to play, nothing special?
He's pretty strong too.
All right, fair enough. So then talk to me about like why CLG is happy to play all these different picks, right? The first Pantheon here, you guys brought out Ashe last week. People were like questioning why. What's the inspiration that has you guys continuing to sort of innovate and play things that other teams don't?
Well, I think one of the keys to being better than your opponent is always trying to think of what's next and being ahead of the curve rather than just playing what everyone else plays. So, you know, everyone's going to play Fiora, Nautilus, like Malphite, they're going to play the tank tops, they're going to play all of that, but I'm always thinking about what's the best, what's better than that. And so, like, trying to elevate your game to the next level is thinking about how you can be the best in every aspect, like mentally, physically, like all of that. So trying to improve your champion pool and like innovate is one of those steps.
All right, one final question then for you here, Darshan. It's about Xmithie. So he actually didn't give me the high five when I was lining up in front of the audience, sadly, so I'm a little bit mad. But yesterday you gave him Nidalee for the first time for like a year for him. He's been known as a tank player. What is it that gives you guys the trust to put him on a carry when I feel like he gets so much flack online?
I think it was more of just like the way we played as a team was wrong. I think Smithie's always been a really good player, but he always does what the team needs, and we realized that Smithie's an amazing player who can play any champion, so why not let him go wild on Nidalee?
And of course he did, Darshan. Thank you very much. Congrats on the win. Better than Xmithie. Actually gave me the handshake. Thank you very much. Send him down to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Freak. second day in a row, Renegades has come out with an early gold lead against two of the top teams in the North American LCS. Immortals yesterday, CLG today. So although there was a defeat screen for them today, that has to feel good, knowing that they can stack up to these other teams in the early game.
Yeah, it's really good that they really got the early part of the game down. But the big difference between the lower tier teams and the top tier teams is that keeping that lead. When you say a top tier team get that lead, they just hold on for it for their dear life. But you saw in this game when Renegades got that huge lead, they gave it right back 2 minutes later.
Right, and that, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, yeah, I just want to focus in on that huge lead that Renegades did get, because one of the things I was looking at a lot this game were plays that were made without vision, deep on the map, and a lot of teams, both teams actually, overextended at different times. And the play that we have the replay of is that huge lead that Renegades
Yeah, we can pull that up. 11 minutes into the game, we see a 4-for-1. It starts with like a 2v2, 1v1 skirmish, and then eventually turns into a 4v5 team brawl. We'll roll this out on your screen. Renegades getting the better of this one.
Yeah, so this is because, you can see the decision-making here from Smithy. They think with the vision that they have, they can go for this 100% and they're going to get RF, but he flashes out of that and it's an overcommitment. They didn't know that the extra numbers from Renegades were all on the way, whereas you can see those are the only members of CLG that were even coming. Now we have late members arriving from CLG trying to clean up the scraps. But this is really where the huge swing in the game came from, and this huge lead that Renegades got was due to an overextension of CLG. Up until this point, Renegades had been doing a good job staying even in the lane swap and, going blow for blow, maybe even a slightly ahead with Cole for Lucian. But at this point is when, CLG kind of stepped a little bit further, outside of their bounds, and Renegades punished them really well for it because they had the fog of war advantage.
And that all started with Smithy going in there. He saw an opportunity, and even if he could have executed it perfectly, he needed to judge for the rest of the map. They had Lucian coming up, and Ezreal was still bottom at the end of it, and that's how it turned out.
So some sloppy decision-making. Even if they did secure that first kill, the rest of the fight still probably plays out about the same way.
At best, you probably get a trade there, yeah.
Right, exactly. I do also, though, want to, focusing still on the early game and Renegades play, want to recognize the fact that they found themselves the lane swap against the Pantheon, trying to avoid that 1v1 against the GP, because we had mentioned as soon as we saw that locked in and Champions like, oh, Pantheon is fantastic in the 1v1 against GP if they can actually find it. So good on Renegades to lane swap on the lane swapping team. They did manage to get the vision down that they needed and execute on that lane swap.
Yeah, and Pantheon is just the solo queue 1v1 terror because no one lane swaps in solo queue. But in competitive play, you're able to avoid that lane. What happens in the Pantheon versus GP lane is that every time you queue Pantheon, he has that block up. When you take down his block, he stuns you and he has block again. And you're like, huh, I have oranges, but I have no damage.
Yeah. From the Pantheon point of view, you could be Gangplank here. I'll be the Pantheon. I'll take this matchup. Right. I double you onto you. I stun you, and I make you use your remove scurvy early so you don't get as much heal. And yes, you can take off the stun, but I'm still going to spear you afterwards, and you still take a big chunk.
But another interesting thing about that is the Storm Raider's Surge that Darshan had that you mentioned earlier. Every time you get that 30% HP, you can't run away from him, and if it looks bad, he can just run away.
Right, yeah. Typically, you're scared of a Pantheon when you don't have your escape, flash spell. Well, if he's got a Storm Raider Surge, even if you flash away, if he's already dealt that 30% damage, he can catch you.
Well, specifically against Gangplank, in this Gangplank matchup, when Darshan is going to go seek out the Gangplank in the late game, you have all the answers if you have Storm Raider Surge, because your play pattern is still, yes, I'm going to double you early to get the gap closer, and you're going to have to use remove scurvy. After that, all I have to do is spear and maybe an auto. This is a DPS champion. Gangplank, it's very easy to deal 30% of his health in damage, so it's so easy to proc the Storm Raider Surge. Then you know that he has no more remove scurvy. He has nothing that he can do, and you chase him down. And Darshan did it really well.
So now let's look at how this game turned back into CLG's favor, because as we mentioned, great early lead, great first maybe 12 minutes of the game for Renegades, but then things started to fall apart. We have a replay that we want to show. Pull that up onto your screen. 14 minutes into the game, a TP down here by RF. We're going to roll this clip out, and this goes back to what your point was, Kobe, about vision play and decision-making based on the circumstances of the map.
Right, and actually they can see Gragas right now. So there are minions up that were trailing there and pushed all the way to the turret that saw Gragas. What you're seeing right now is Alex and Freeze thought that they had numbers advantage because of the teleport of RF. But RF he got a little greedy here. He wanted to go around and cut off the members of CLG that were running away. But when he ran into Gragas, who was coming down the lane through those minions, he actually couldn't even 1v1 the jungler, and RF had to turn back around, and then Alex and Freeze are sitting there like, oh, what? I thought we had the teleport advantage. I thought we had the numbers advantage. So this is kind of a lesson, because this happens so often, even in solo queue games where you think you have the pick and you want to cut them off, but you should stick with your numbers advantage. If RF just went with the pack, and they had that 3-man pack, they probably could have gotten
At worst,
skills.
they just walk away from it.
Or
even
that.
if they realize that like this still isn't going to go in our favor, now as 3 we can walk away. I had the privilege of seeing on my own client scrolling up to that 1v1 between the Gangplank and the Gragas, and it was literally a W and a Q that took him to half health. I mean, the Gragas was pumping out a fair amount of damage to that Runic Echoes early in the jungle.
It's like one of those things in solo queue where you get, oh, we killed the support, time to go Baron. In this case, it's like, oh, I have the TP flank, this is our chance.
Right.
But it's only something you do when you're really far ahead. I mean, when you're kind of in the middle, you kind of just have to, you know, take the budget path and just group up with your team. And even if you're not cutting them off, you're still giving them the power to like go all the way through. You're kind of skipping steps and, you know.
Yeah. It's kind of the same thing where you have to judge risk differently in the early game when you don't have deep wards and you haven't had time to set up for these plays, and you're just kind of going off instinct and going for heat of the moment plays.
Yeah. So we saw from there the gold differential kind of even out and then grow in favor of CLG. And from there, we saw a more accurate representation of what you were talking about earlier, Dyrus, the difference between a top-tier team and a lower-tier team in that CLG, once they had gotten their gold lead back, they played it out a lot more methodically.
Step 1, get that gold lead. Step 2, wait for your power spikes, play for objectives. If you still have that gold lead, keep going for those objectives. And if you're behind, wait until the opponent makes the mistake. And CLG played it out very well.
Yeah, they played around the 1v1 that you mentioned, Darshan, or the Pantheon versus the Gangplank. They had that great Baron call, which they were able to snag and get out using the Bard tunnel. So overall, well played for CLG once they made it back into the game. Renegades, though, things are perhaps looking up for them. Coming up next, we'll see if Team Dignitas has what it takes to keep TSM from joining CLG in second place. Don't go anywhere. The NA LCS will be right back.
Means Z0 and Gauntlet has...
Dude, if you play against lane with Z0, just buy Call and go there and farm the fucking creeps. And get Call like in
or pick Veigar
3 waves.
and kill the Z0 minions.
Countered.
Still is able to get the kill onto Xmithie. That's first blood. That's a double kill for Crumbs on the rec side. They probably get Aframuk here as well, but they're keeping it for Darshan.
I'm running behind them.
I'm
you guys see me? You guys see me?
There's only three. Go. Karma. Okay, it's all you guys. It's all you guys. Karma. Freeze. Yeah.
I have flash.
I'm on side.
Let's go. I ulted. Nice shot. Yo, I'm gonna port over the wall.
I got him.
All right, Legendary. They have his eye off. He tried to flash over the wall, but flashed up. And the small mistake, so when CLG begins to capitalize, CLG takes down Renegades.